It's Spoilerin time, a companion show to Cordkillers. Cordkillers is the show where we figure out how to watch things. This is the show where we've watched them and we talk about them. This week, we'll be talking about Miami Vice episode No Exit from season 1, Squid Game season 1, episode 4, and the movie starring Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, The Silence of the Lambs. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hoo boy, and do I ever have hot takes? Bryce, are you feeling fired up about this episode?
Yep, I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here with it. This is believable.
Okay, where do we start?
Where do we start?
Let's start with The Silence of the Lambs. I watched it for free through my library on an app called Canopy that the Los Angeles Public Library integrates with. So no commercials. There were other ways to watch it for free with commercials, but I was able to watch it without commercials. That is, and I don't mean this to condemn the movie, the most positive thing about the experience was like, ooh, I discovered a new way to stream movies for free, and a decent movie with Silence of the Lambs. I will say, though, having watched the TV series Hannibal, Anthony Hopkins' Hannibal Lecter really felt odd to me. I remember, I've seen this movie more than once. I remember thinking like, oh yeah, Hannibal, what a crazy character. Anthony Hopkins, should win awards for that. It was amazing. But now having seen Mads Mikkelsen, I'm just like, okay, he feels kind of cartoony and a little over the top. Jodie Foster's great. She's awesome, but Hopkins, I feel, I don't know. It just struck me entirely different this time. Brian, what about you?
I mentioned earlier today to Bryce that I think I would pay $20 for some kind of digital remix of it where it's just Mads Mikkelsen, just to see how much different it would be. I don't know that thematically, structurally, any of those things, it would be very different. But it really did give me a deep respect for Mads's version of Hannibal.
Because I'm not trying to say Anthony Hopkins was bad or stupid or anything. It just, I felt like Mads Mikkelsen was a little more intimidating because Anthony Hopkins was so wide-eyed, right? And energetic. Whereas Mads Mikkelsen's Hannibal was just so calm and would say exactly the same things. Don't be rude. I don't like this. I'm going to work on my drawings. The character was the same. It was just the performance that was different. The rest of the movie... go ahead.
Well, at the risk of sounding reductionist, Mads Mikkelsen's version of Hannibal has a much better, dare I say, superior bedside manner compared to the version that we saw here. This was kind of a cartoon
we're only
character.
Seeing prison Hannibal here, but we saw prison Hannibal with Mads as well.
Which, by the way, that's not the part I had a problem with. I could adjust to Anthony Hopkins' version.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I could not adjust to whatever his gatekeeper guy, because that's the same character, Chilton, right?
Chilton, that's right.
Yeah, Dr. Chilton.
Okay.
Right. Children by the Millions.
It is a different actor, but boy, same casting, very strong, similar casting.
Right, but also it's like it was really fun for me to try to imagine everything that we saw in Hannibal happened, and then Chilton acts this way when he's got Hannibal under lock and key after being shot in the face and all the other weird stuff that happens.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
that's a little bit of a different, inconsistent,
little different outcome for Chilton at this stage of the game. I did think Jodie Foster was excellent still, but I've also not watched Clarice, the TV series. Who knows? Maybe I'd feel differently if I had. But I thought she was spot on. A great delivery. Oh shoot, why am I blanking? I should have IMDb open. The FBI director that was Lawrence Fishburne in Jack. He was okay. He was almost a non-entity for me, whereas Lawrence Fishburne, I think, elevated that role. But he was fine. The rest of the movie is a little cheesy. There's some cartoonish elements around the edges that I think it has good directing, great acting, and I'll blame cinematography and screenwriting for the parts that struck me as like, ooh, that just seems silly.
The stuff that felt amateurish were the moments they dipped into um, culturally inappropriate moments. Like, for example, the first time Clarice visits Hannibal Lecter, he's very standoffish. He's like, don't bother me or whatever. And then the guy in the cubicle next over throws, forgive me, adult language, ejaculate on her. And it's as though the producers of the movie are so embarrassed of this scene that they rush it at the expense of it making any sense whatsoever. Like something happens and then suddenly he's shouting and giving clues and she's running out. And I don't know that if I was in the movie theater seeing this for the first time, I would have any idea what that scene was about.
I didn't remember that being the cause. I remember her running out and being scared, but in my mind, and maybe I just blocked it out. I remembered it just being like, oh, everybody started yelling and throwing things. It was very clear to me this time, like, oh yeah, that was disgusting.
And not only
also
disgusting, but
cops,
also the reason that he suddenly flips over and he's like, all right, I'll throw you a crumb. That was awful. I apologize on behalf of my colleague.
Because they're all being rude.
Right.
Also, I thought all of the cop scenes were just like kind of Keystone copy, where it's like, hey, little lady, we're the cops, and we, we're not going to take those precautions. That's for dummies. We know our job. Like it just felt weird.
Let me give you a defense of that.
All right.
2/3 of the movie, I was like, oh my God, more like the leering of the lambs. Like every single scene, everybody was leering at her. And
that is not what bothered me so much. I felt like that was time period context, right? Oh, in whatever it was, 1993, that would have been the way it was, right?
But about 2/3 of the way through the movie, Hannibal Lecter says he calls all of it out. And all of a sudden, like a good magic trick, the truth has been in front of you the entire time, and he only reveals it. And once you see it, you can't stop seeing it. Also, I guess they're racist against anybody who doesn't have blue eyes, because everybody has blue eyes in the entire movie. They all stare directly down the barrel of the camera, except for one person who's African American. It's
Barney, right? Barney the orderly that lets her in.
I was thinking of her friend that she's training.
Oh, Ardelia. Yeah. So there's two. There's Barney and Ardelia.
But outside of that, everybody has these bold blue, brilliant eyes and stuff. I gotta tell you, picturing this on a big screen for the close-ups that they give, bold direction. Full stop.
It felt like it was shot for a small screen.
Right.
So everything was so close. I noticed that too.
Yeah. Like we're watching Miami Vice.
I thought the handling of objectification was fairly sophisticated for the time period that this came out. You're talking about how they really show like, oh yeah, from the beginning when she's out jogging, the male gaze is called attention to just with cinematography. So I think that's good direction. And then it, like you say, later on in the movie, it becomes explicit through Hannibal Lecter. So I'll give Jonathan Demme props there. 1991 is when this came out. But there's also just like when the cops are just being on their own, like, let me bring you your food. It just felt like suddenly we were back in the 50s. Like those parts were just left limp.
The thing that struck me the most was that the first 2/3 of the movie really do stand up. The last third, and I understand, I mean, it's a long movie. The last third moves so fast and is so ha-cha-cha, technology, shooting, deep breathing, in the dark or whatever. That part left me a little bit disappointed, but absent of that, I was really shocked at how much this held up.
That pacing reminds me so much of the show. I feel like I always had that issue with the Hannibal show was, okay, we found the person who did it. They're just sitting here waiting for you to arrest them. We wrapped that up pretty fast, didn't we? Like, but it's
it felt really fast from the moment she walks into his house to her realizing like, this is Buffalo Bill. And in some ways, I like that it's not explicit. She doesn't have a moment where she goes, "Oh my God, it's Buffalo Bill," right? Like that's fine. But pretty quickly, he cottons to it too, and it does seem to move pretty fast. I did like though that the woman who's captive is just like, screw that lady, get me out of here.
Right.
Rather, like, has some agency, is trying to get out, like is enticing the dog, and doesn't want to hurt the dog, but will hurt the dog if she has to in order to get out of there. I thought that was felt very modern as well.
Which, by the way, in the coda at the end of the movie, the fact that she is holding on to Precious, like in a sincere way, felt very real to me. It was surprising, and
there's some good touches in there. Yeah. Jack Crawford, played by Scott Glenn, who, by the way, played Stick in
of course, in Daredevil.
Yeah. Loved him as Stick. He's all right as Jack Crawford. He's not bad.
Bryce, what was your experience like watching this after? Because you are the only one of the three of us who saw this after watching Hannibal.
Right. I watched this a few months ago after we finished watching Hannibal. I thought it was I thought it was very good. I think as a movie, it really holds up on its own. Maybe not as much as Hannibal or the Red Dragon films do as much. And also because the events of Silence of the Lambs are not covered in Hannibal like the way the Hannibal film and Red Dragon films are. There was also a certain bit of like, well, this is probably not what Hugh Dancy's character. This is not what the guy from that TV show would do. This is like kind of a different thing. But I don't know. I dig it. There's just enough of like what feels like today, what you would feel like true crime reality with like a far end of the serial killer spectrum of this is someone who is pretty far off their rocker, and I think it's interesting because you get to the heights of the show's sort of surreality with the way that the serial killers are acting, but there's a lot of grounded time here in this film.
So in my mental file bin, I had filed this under sort of a I don't know, sort of a freak show of an unpreparedness for trans culture in the early 90s. But watching it this time, I feel like they gave pretty good due diligence and pretty good respect to gender reassignment surgery and taking it seriously in a way that, I mean, I can't attest to what people were experiencing when they were watching this, but it seemed like this movie did not throw trans folks under the bus the way I thought it did before rewatching it.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought that goes into where Buffalo Bill fits into kind of our current ideas of queerness, right? I think something I read today, kind of recapping the film for myself, was like, you can take a view that no, Buffalo Bill's not like queer at all, but you're just looking at someone who is broken and is looking to get away from whatever their physical body is. Maybe not necessarily a gender dysmorphia, but just a generalized dysmorphia of, well, I'm not a woman. A woman would be very different from my history and my upbringing. So I think that shows a lot of sophistication and intricacy.
Correct. Yeah. In the movie, as Tom is saying, they go out of their way to specifically say exactly that, which somehow I had totally forgotten. And props to, forward-thinking 1990 people,
Jonathan Demme
for mentioning
and
that.
Crew. Yeah.
Right.
Well, thanks for going along with this. I was expecting to enjoy it more than I did. I was not expecting it to feel as dated because I don't think it's been that long since I saw it last. And I remember thinking, wow, this held up really well. And in large parts it did. I think it was just watching the TV series Hannibal that that undermined that little bit of feeling. I don't know
I
if that,
went in fully expecting to enjoy it much, much less than I
Hmm,
remembered it, and I was
yeah.
pleasantly surprised at how much held up, and you know how much was fair, and yeah, it's a more flamboyant version of Hannibal Lecter, but of course, while he's the standout of the show, he's not the star of the show.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean,
I
it was
expected
much
it to be
better than I
better.
thought.
Brian expected it to be worse. So Bryce, you must have expected it to be exactly in the middle.
You know what? I did enjoy it. I did sit down for it. I was like, you know what? I really like the show. I think I'm gonna like rewatching it. And I ended up liking it a lot. Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
paused it. And that's telling.
Mm.
I never stopped it. Even there was like one or two times where I had to, go like grab a drink or whatever. And I was like, I'm just going to keep my ear out. I don't want to pause it. I want to keep going. And I think that's to its credit.
I will say that I went to justwatch.com, and whatever was the easiest way to see it turned out to be on Pluto.tv with ads, the same 5 ads every 15 minutes through a
Oh.
2-hour and 20-minute long movie.
Yeah.
Get that library card out, folks. If you're going to watch Silence of the
Or
Lambs.
just give them the $10.
Yeah.
It
Or
was
just pay them
awful.
the money.
It was
Yeah,
awful.
whatever works.
Like
Whatever works.
I watch Miami Vice with ads through the NBC app, but that's only 40 minutes. That's not another 2 hour. That's not 2 hours.
Yeah.
Ugh.
All right, folks. That is The Silence of the Lambs. Let's talk about Squid Game, episode 4 of the series. We get our next game comes at the end, and we get our first like true cliffhanger ending. But the majority of the episode is the fallout from the Dalgona game last time, and a little bit more of a look behind the scenes. We see what the doctor is up to. We see the cooperation going on from two of the women on the team, the North Korean girl and the sort of like Minyo. She's kind of like trying to team up, and we get the unofficial game, which is the night of beating each other up and killing each other.
The Night of 1,000 Shivs.
Yes, and not Shiv from Succession. We're talking about like actual something you stab somebody with.
Okay.
Let it out. Get it out.
I like that we're not wasting time in figuring out that 101 is an unreliable teammate. I like that we are forced
A 2 and 8.
reshuffling folks. To me, they've cracked a seal when it comes to like, okay, so apparently it's cool to murder people. And like, I don't understand why anybody's bothering to play any of the rest of the game. To me, it's like you form a cabal, you just murder everybody else. Last 2 of you stab each other in the throat, and you're done.
Because, and this is I think the explanation and the genius, they stopped it.
Yeah, they came in with the guns and
They came in with the guns
no
and
more."
said, okay, no more of that, giving the impression that wasn't okay.
Or-
and they just took a while for them to get in there.
Even
but
though
don't
very
do it
clearly,
again.
yeah, okay.
Oh,
And-
I mean, we know
Yeah.
for sure it was
Yeah.
okay, but it's sort of like if you do it again, we might come in faster next time. I don't know.
It felt very strange, especially as we saw behind the scenes with the detective of like, this is the secret game. Like now you've got secret games. We keep finding more and more ways that this is not a closed loop. This is not a controlled space at all, and that is apparently by design to some degree, right? This whole lights out
Mhm.
game was, I mean, they have a strobe light and everything. They were prepared for it. Then what are we doing here, Brian? That's a little bit of I'm like, because we're not even like scavenging people for organs, right? Like they have a whole side
They
splinter
keep
group
on
that are
just
doing that.
burning all the dead bodies.
Yeah.
Well, there's a splinter group, but you're saying it's not
even that.
official.
Right.
Yeah. It's not, otherwise it would just be, systematized. They wouldn't be sneaking around doing it.
So I would say, and I don't mean this as a ding on the show. What I mean this is as a assessment of what I'm feeling. This is the most frustrated I've been with the show so far.
Okay.
And maybe that's by design. Maybe that's on purpose. But at this point, if this, then why aren't you doing whatever? If this, then why not something else? I trust the show. I'm sure it's good.
But so my explanation doesn't ease your qualm about like, why wouldn't you just keep trying to kill each other?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
All right.
Not at all. Like the mere fact that they sat there and watched people murder each other. And, of course, I'm trying to inject myself into the situation, figuring out what kind of speeches I would give to inspire everybody to grab, shards of glass and jab them in people's throats or whatever. But that's apparently not what the show's about.
I mean, we would certainly not like any of the people on our team if they were doing the murdering. I mean, we already don't love 218 because he kept secrets from Giyun.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, all I could say is the way I approached it was they stopped it. The pink suits stopped it, which calmed everybody back down and made everybody realize, oh crap, I can't just kill until I win. Also, you killed the easiest people, so now it's just going to get harder and harder, and the calculus starts to be maybe it's just easier to play the game.
and there's a certain
and especially because you see Minyo and the North Korean girl figure out what the next game is ahead of time.
The biggest moment to me was when the old guy stopped the Midnight Massacre simply by shouting, "I'm afraid."
I'm scared. Yeah.
Feels like that's a strong clue in there. The other strong clue is our undercover detective is asking around about names. He's like, we don't use names. Those to me feel like the two most important moments in the entire thing.
What do you think they mean, though?
If I knew the answer, I probably wouldn't be watching the next episode as soon as we're done.
Okay. All right.
Also,
so you're like, that's important. I'm not sure why yet.
Yes.
But yeah. Okay. All right.
and also an episode where, so many shows you don't think about it. There's no need to judge it based on this because you don't have the limitation. But when we got to the cliffhanger, the literal cliffhanger of them doing in the middle of the next game, I texted both of y'all that I was frustrated by it, but boy, howdy was it tough to be like, okay, we're just not even going to do a real stopping point. We're just going to do it in the middle of the episode. I hope I know this won't happen, but I would love it if they did that because they don't need to show us the rest of the game. It would be great if we opened up next episode and they say, we did it. Your advice worked, old man. Half the teams are gone.
Okay, two things.
But that's
One
not going to
is,
happen at all.
get ready for what you saw this episode, which is a typical Korean replaying of part of the end of the previous episode to lead you slowly back into the episode. That is going to happen again.
Okay.
Two, the first time I watched this, old man's advice, I was like, there's no way he has time in that elevator to get everybody on board. And they very realistically had people going, what are you talking about? That's a dumb idea. And I'm like, and what would happen is they would all not get on board with it and it wouldn't work. So that kind of bugged me the first time around. This time watching it, I'm like, yeah, but okay. It is kind of still a fun conceit that he's like, oh yeah, I played this old fashioned game. Let me tell you how to win. We can go against the odds and beat a bigger team by being smarter. I do like that concept still.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Any other thoughts on Squid Game?
No, still into it. Still, I don't know, suspicious.
Still into it, still kind of not. Well, you're doing Street Fighter.
All right. That's Squid Game Season 1, Episode 4. Let's talk about Miami Vice.
So
Season
good.
1, Episode No Exit, starring Bruce Willis.
So good.
In his first, I looked this up, it's his first major TV role. He's been like man in corner before this. Like, this is a, like all through the entire episode speaking role for Bruce Willis, who would then go on to get the moonlighting gig.
Already balding. Already big old
come
bald
on.
spot on the back. I'm just saying. No, I mean,
That's just how virile he is.
yeah. I don't know where to begin.
How did this hold up to the Sunday morning experiment?
Oh, no. Sunday morning is the only way to watch these. Grab a bowl of cereal and the biggest TV you have. It's the way to go. I'm not thrilled that we have 2 episodes in a row that are being wrapped up by righteous citizen kills a bad guy. But I'm also not thrilled with Bruce Willis as cartoonish douchebag, really bad husband. I mean, I don't know.
This was one of the paper thinnest episodes we've watched.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it out loud.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Willis's bad guy is on rails, like from beginning to end, right? There's no complexity to his character. The only twist you get is that he's confident he's going to get out of it because he's on the payroll of a competing agency, and you're like, oh, okay. Otherwise, I actually took notes this time, and I'm like, how was Tubbs undercover, but then also in the police room to talk to Rita, and then back to undercover?
I forgive a lot of that, assuming that Tubbs is from New York, so he's not well known. Like very few people have seen him in Miami, so he gets to be in
Maybe.
and out of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Also, there was a fly landed on the lens at one point.
Oh
Did
my
y'all
God, I
notice that?
totally
No, I
saw
missed
that.
that.
I saw that. I thought it was awesome. I was sad when the fly went away.
And then actually, respect for choosing Teddy Pendergrass to be the song during the beating. That was like almost Tarantino level stuff for the late 80s anyway.
What song
80s.
was that?
It was Stay With Me, Teddy Pendergrass.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This might have been the weakest episode we've had so far.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Like, there is no complexity to the storyline. It's very typical, like, all right, guys, we're the big agency. You got to do, no, we're the locals. We're going to do that.
Again.
Bigger fish stepped in and ruined it all. Oh my gosh.
Also,
Yeah,
if there's
that's
one thing I learned from The Wire, it's that nobody is protective about their case. Everybody's
No.
playing hot potato, and they can't wait to make their case somebody else's problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I sort of enjoyed watching Bruce Willis play a paper thin villain.
Yeah. Push his wife into the pool and
This is so horrible. Yeah.
Do you remember when there was a big rocket launcher just in the middle of Miami Vice?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. I didn't even note that because
and
it
also
didn't even
this whole
stick
setup
out.
about how like these rocket launchers, and this is important, so we're going to spend 30 seconds on it, can be fired in such a way that they never detonate. What? It's like throwing a rocket to an engine. You're saying I
So
can
wait,
take down a
explain
plane
it to me
with
some
this
more.
without actually firing an explosive? Yes, you can.
That's
sounds
exactly
important.
right, John.
What say we never mention it again?
But hold on. Let's shoot off this rocket launcher right here in public as a test, even though we only had 8, well, now 7 missiles to sell you.
And they even say at the end, like, guess we didn't find those rocket launchers. You remember we had those? Oh, very, very good. They even managed
Ripped
to work in
from
the
the
gator just a
headlines
little bit. They managed
of
to
the Weekly
work.
World News.
Yeah.
I'm not out. I'm still in. I'm just
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I still had fun.
We're going from DEFCON 1 to DEFCON 2. We're relaxing a little
Our
bit.
next episode has Glenn Fry in it, and
Okay.
it's called Smuggler's Blues, the name of a Glenn Fry song.
All right.
Okay. From the Eagles, I see.
Glenn Fry, formerly of the Eagles. Yeah.
Huh.
And this was on the Miami Vice soundtrack cassette that you could buy.
Oh. Get like a
Indeed.
single of that.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on No Exit? A Jean-Paul Sartre reference.
Yes-ish. I mean,
Hell is other people.
no, I mean, I think specifically they're talking about Bruce Willis's wife and how she's trapped and all that stuff. Yes.
And existentialism from mid-20th century French
Yes.
philosophers. Very cool.
Sure.
Clearly. Yeah. That's Miami Vice, season 1, episode No Exit. But there is an exit from Spoilerin time so that you can go watch movies and shows for next week. Next week, we'll be talking about the movie Good Time, which you can find on Netflix, also available on Canopy, I noticed. And we'll be talking about the episode Smuggler's Blues from season 1 of Miami Vice, as well as Squid Game episode 5. And those of you who are patrons get these episodes early and get After Talk, where I will talk about Cowboy Bebop because I got to see the episodes early. Until next time, we will spoil you again then.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.